folks. Sweet galloping Grogu. What an episode of Mandalorian that was. I tell you, last Friday's episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 13, The Jedi, is being hailed as one of the series' best episodes. Now, spoiler alert for anyone who's not watched this episode yet, because we are about to spoil everything in it. And this episode had so many major reveals. Baby Yoda's real name, the first live-action appearance of Ahsoka Tano, Michael Biehn, and 3 words that could change the future of Star Wars as we know it, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, we'll get into all of that in just a moment, but let's start with the Togruta in the room, Ahsoka Tano. And while many Star Wars fans were delighted to see Ahsoka Tano in the flesh, others were disappointed by Rosario Dawson's casting. Last year, Dawson and her family were sued over an alleged transphobic assault, and Dawson spoke to Vanity Fair about this case, which is still ongoing, but even so, allegations like these can make it difficult to separate the art from the artist for many fans out there. Now, we here at Nerdist believe the galaxy far, far away has and always will be for everyone and anyone, and that said, today's discussion will mostly focus on the content of the episode rather than the circumstances surrounding it, but wanted to make sure that we mentioned that before we dove into it. So let's get into the episode. What were your overall reactions to The Jedi? What were your overall reactions to this episode? Riley, let's start with you.
Well, I think like you just said, as a trans person myself, I can't speak on the veracity of the case. I can't. Also, this is not the place for that. So I struggled at first with my mixed feelings about it because of that. I think that I enjoyed the episode more when I kind of got past my initial viewing and was able to dive into it again a second time and kind of be able to process my complicated emotions around it. Ahsoka Tano is a character that means a significant amount to me. She's really, really important to me. I've written a lot about her and about how I think that she's the best Jedi at being a Jedi. And everyone who says she's not a Jedi, Dave Filoni is in quotes now saying the exact thing that I say about it. So I was excited to see Ahsoka in live action. I thought this episode really did a great job of the marrying of like the biggerness of the Star Wars universe. Sorry, Discovery's back too. I have a lot of Star in my head. Of marrying the like bigger universe elements of Star Wars with the very smaller versions of stories that Mandalorian is so good at telling. So having this episode that is such a mind-blowing lore expansion, but also this very small Kurosawa-style samurai story happening at the exact same time. Very limited set, very limited cast. There's not a whole, like, it's such an achievement in storytelling that despite my personal misgivings, I can objectively say that I think it's the best episode of the series so far. And it took me a while to connect this version of Ahsoka with the Ahsoka that I know and love. But now that I've like taken some space back, I actually had to go back and revisit. I had to rewatch Phantom Apprentice from the end of Clone Wars. I had to rewatch Twilight the Apprentice from Rebels, and then watch this episode again to really kind of like see the through lines that I needed to see between the animated Ahsoka that I love and this live action version of her. She'll never be my Ahsoka. I'll put that out there. Like the animated series Ahsoka is my Ahsoka. That's the heart of the Ahsoka character for me. But this was a lovely way to revisit the character, and it's really fascinating to see where she is from here. And I'd like to see more of her in other media.
Yeah, and I think that's great, especially because there are so many different shades of Ahsoka as we see in her journey from Clone Wars to Rebels to now this kind of like person who's been through so much in the galaxy far, far away. We get these different aspects of her. And the nice thing is we can also watch the animated stuff on Disney Plus as well, just a couple button clicks away. But Jason, what were your thoughts on Ahsoka's appearance in this episode? What about this episode stood out to you?
The number one moment of the whole episode was when she refers to another one of his kind, and they actually played just for a moment Yoda's theme. I don't know, like, and you almost you have to really be paying attention to hear it, but that like flowed through me for sure. But what I would like to say is, in classic, in keeping of the tradition of how Lucas named all of his characters, Grogu is basically Goo Goo. He's a baby. Babies say Goo Goo. So his name is Grogu. I mean, like, you can't get any more Lucas than that.
See, I thought Grogu was just Star Wars for George. That's how I parsed it. Now, there's an interesting quote. Dave Filoni was speaking with Vanity Fair. He said, the name has been around for a while. Jon Favreau told me early on in season 1 what it would be, which made me start to think about how people could learn the name. This gave me the idea that Ahsoka, who's very compassionate, would be able to connect with the child, and that without words, they could probably communicate through memories and experiences. Through that connection, she learns the name and then tells Mando and the audience. So, Emma, what were your thoughts on that reveal, learning this, like, crucial piece of Baby Yoda lore? I mean, he's always going to be Baby Yoda to me.
Of course.
What were your thoughts about how they doled this out?
I think the way that they introduced it was really, really smart. It made sense to me that, just based on my understanding of the character of Ahsoka Tano, who, again, like, I've watched her whole journey throughout Clone Wars, Rebels, Clone Wars again. So it made sense to me that she would be able to communicate with the baby. And it didn't even cross my mind until she said his name that, she might actually find out what his real name is. And so it was a really beautiful surprise to me, I think is what I'm trying to say, basically. That whole interaction where she's trying to get the baby to pass the rock back to her with the Force, and then Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, steps in and he's got the little bauble from the top of the lever in his in the Razor Crest. That was such a great moment because, again, like, it was really masterful storytelling where they were leaving the ship. He was like, this has to stay on the ship, and he just, like, sticks in his pocket, and then there's the back and forth. So I knew it was going to happen, but they set it up so well. I mean, I just want to echo a little bit of what Riley was saying. I think that the design of the character of Ahsoka in this episode was absolutely incredible. She looked amazing. As far as her actual performance and seeing the character on screen, it was not even remotely as exciting for me as seeing Katie Sackhoff play Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Seeing Katie, who has been Bo-Katan for forever, bring that character to life, she was just so perfect. And I felt like, even though, and of course, some of the personal allegations and such are certainly coloring my opinion of this as well. I can't divorce myself from that. I can't unknow what I know or unread what I've read. But I found Rosario Dawson's performance to be a little low energy. And I think that, sure, it makes sense that as far as where Ahsoka is in her journey, again, this is after Star Wars Rebels. The last we've really seen her is like her showing up to Sabine at the end of Star Wars Rebels, and she's got the cloak on, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it made sense, but it just, like, I don't know. I wanted that spark and that energy of the character of Ahsoka, and I just didn't really feel that. But that being said, I think it was an incredibly well done episode, and the fight between her and the magistrate at the end of the episode was so good.
That was an amazing.
Yes, someone on Twitter posted a GIF next to that fight scene from Princess Mononoke, where you have
Lady Eboshi
Princess Mononoke fighting Lady Eboshi, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. But yeah, like, major Kurosawa vibes. Like, in those moments, like when she was using the lightsabers to just pop up and, like, murk those guys in the swamp and then disappear into the mists, that stuff was just awesome. That's like. That's what I love about The Mandalorian. It reminds me why I love Star Wars, because it's become such a fractious place in recent years, but this definitely sort of brought me back into the fold in a major way. And, seeing those moments, like seeing Dad Jaren play catch with his new son, Grogu, it was so lovely. But yeah, one thing I want to touch on before we wind down is those 3 words that every Star Wars fan loves to hear: Grand Admiral Thrawn. So can someone in the panel give the viewers a little bit of chistery about who this character is, and maybe why this is so important to the future of Star Wars?
It seems like Emma wants to jump on
Well,
that.
Grand Admiral Thrawn is a character that was originally introduced in what is now considered to be Star Wars Legends, originally called the Expanded Universe. In the Timothy Zahn novels, he was the primary antagonist in his original trilogy. He has since been reintroduced into Star Wars and was one of the main villains in Star Wars Rebels. He came around in Star Wars Rebels season 3, I want to say. He is a Chiss. He is from the unknown regions, so he is a blue guy with red eyes. He also is incredibly intelligent. He's a very sort of ruthlessly tactical kind of guy. And the way that he obtains all of his information about people so that he can really get in their heads and use that against them is by collecting artifacts from their cultures. The last we knew of Grand Admiral Thrawn, according to Star Wars Rebels, he had been spirited off into the wild regions by space whales.
We've all been there. Folks, how many times has this ever happened to you? Space whales?
Yeah.
In my sector?
He was an Imperial officer, and he and Vader in some of the Thrawn novels and stuff definitely got into it a couple of times. And he also has a little bit of history with Anakin Skywalker, who he maybe knows is Darth Vader. A little unclear.
So I should also point out too that in Rebels he was spirited away not only by space whales but with Ezra Bridger, who is the Jedi protagonist of Rebels. So looking for Thrawn is also in a way looking for Ezra Bridger, and that's also why I think Rebels fans are like, wait, if Thrawn's still out there, is Ezra still out there? What's going to happen?
So do we think that we're going to maybe get an Ahsoka Tano spin-off series where she is on the hunt for Thrawn and Ezra?
If we get that, I hope it's animated. I'm kind of with Emma on the acting differences between the animated Ahsoka and Rosario's energy level as the live action one. But I'm also a little less in love with the design. And I think that what I'm learning is that some of the limitations on the Togruta, Leku and Montrals, I feel are more limited in a live action version. And so I feel like in order to have a show that focuses on Ahsoka, I'd rather it go back to the animated version where I feel like it serves her better as a character.
Yeah. And if they were going to go live action, then we need Tia to come back and play Sabine. I still think she's going to be on this season of The Mandalorian.
As soon as I finished watching the episode and went online, I already saw a blue Benedict Cumberbatch.
Who did I? Oh, I saw somebody suggest Hugh Grant.
Oh, that'd be a good one too.
I was like, oh.
Look, that would be phenomenal. And look, he's having a moment again, thanks to The Undoing. And if you haven't seen Paddington 2, perhaps his finest work.
Paddington 2.
I'm just going to put that out there.
I mean, he was actually nominated for Academy Awards for Paddington 2.
Because that movie deserved the Oscars.
Wow.
It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, y'all. If you've never seen Paddington 2,
it should have 200%.
You should watch both Paddingtons. They are both outstanding.
Especially in a nightmare year like this, they are the antidote that I think we could all use.